Coming to you live from a cabin deep in the heart of the Canadian wilderness. Turn down the lights, get yourself a drink, and let's settle in for tonight's broadcast. Good evening, and welcome to Midnight Mysteries. Here are your hosts.
Welcome back to Midnight Mysteries, the heart of Canadian Paranormal Radio. My name is Nathan.
And my name is Mike. Tonight we're talking about CE5. As always, if you want to know more about these type of topics or other paranormal things, join our communities, click follow, and hit subscribe. Our
guest tonight is Derryn Donaghey. Derryn is a retired Air Force Military Policeman who is a UFO experiencer from his time in the military and is now working on his training to become a UFOlogist. Derryn's interest in the extraterrestrial phenomenon had him start CE5 Alberta in 2020, which is Canada's largest CE5 group based on Dr. Greer's work on the topic. The group has done over 40 sessions over the last 4 years, claiming amazing, unexplainable experiences observed by its participants. The group is also affiliated and connected with several other CE5 groups and has, 1,200 participants?
1,700.
1,700 participants. Derryn also has close to a decade of experience as a paranormal investigator. Derryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. Much appreciated.
So something we kick off each show with is, did you grow up believing in the paranormal? Did your parents or grandparents ever talk about it, or were you a skeptic? Was your family a skeptic?
Good question. I remember seeing something when I was very young in the skies, and it was very interesting to me. And I love, of course, Star Trek and Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. But I remember asking my dad back in the day, what do you think about UFOs? Are UFOs real? And he said, they're demons. And I thought that was crazy, and now more and more that I've come to it, it makes you wonder. There's so many possibilities of it, but I believed in it. Also as far as paranormal is concerned, I was always told and taught, that. As long as you believe in Christ and so forth, that, you're protected. And I do believe that still to this day. But, I think I had a very open mind from when I was young and experienced a few things when I was younger that really piqued my interest as I got older.
Well, what type of things did you experience that planted that seed?
Well, as far as the UFOs are concerned, I grew up in North Edmonton, and, I just remember I was a big soccer guy, and I was out playing and saw a disc in the sky. It was very high, but it didn't move, and it was up there for quite some time. I was by myself and just watched it for, it was probably about 20 minutes. And so that was very interesting to me. And then
that's a long time too.
Yeah. And then just, paranormal things. There was an odd time I remember being in my room, and my mom would leave the hall light on for me, and, the door opened, about a foot or so. And I remember getting up one day, waking up, and I looked, and there's an absolute mirror of that on the other side of the room. Oh. And I went through the one that isn't the normal one. And I don't remember what happened after that, but I always wonder. It's very vivid. I don't even think I've ever told anybody that, but very interesting that it was like.
So like there's another, like a mirror of the door, but on the other side.
Like almost now what I would look at, it was almost, is this another dimension? Is this
a portal
reality?
Or something?
What would have happened if I would have went through the regular door? I don't know. So there's a lot of things that made it interesting. And then especially in high school, I had some interesting things there as far as paranormal is concerned in particular. And, I went to a friend's house, and there was about 5 or 6 of us, and I would, if I had known this, I would have never gone, but they brought out a Ouija board.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, it didn't work for me. I think in hindsight, I think that was a good thing. But there were some crazy things that happened there. Her dad was a fireman, and he had a fire helmet on the wall, and then on the other wall there was a odd mask from Hawaii. And afterwards, when we turned the lights on, they'd switch places on the wall. And I'm, even though I wasn't a policeman back then, I was very inquisitive and so forth. And there's no way it like, how could that happen, right? So,
How many bad paranormal stories have you heard that start with, there was a Ouija board?
oh, every one of them.
It's shocking how they're still sold in the toy
Toys
aisle,
R
the
Us.
board game of Toys R Us. And even talking with other paranormal communities, people across the spectrum are like, don't play with Ouija boards. And it seems to be the nominal kind of people who are like, ooh, I enjoy the occasional ghost story that really dig into it without,
It's like
looking up
it's like
first.
a gateway drug to the paranormal
Yeah.
in a bad way.
Well, that James Van Praagh, who's a kind of a famous medium psychic, he talks about using them and they can be used for good. I'm like, zero chance. Zero chance.
Yeah. And that's something we've heard over and over is, maybe there is something on the other side that's giving you good stuff, but there's no way to authenticate it, right?
Yeah.
There's no way to test it, really.
Yeah. Team Dark is capable of giving you correct answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've been around just as long as the ancestors we feel we're talking to through it. So.
Well, I mean, even biblically, it talks about, fallen angels masquerading as angels of light. Because, I mean, they were angels of light at one point before they fell, right? So, this cultural idea that they're all scary-looking monsters really, may not be true. They can easily, look like a very benevolent, bright being, right?
Well, even the name Lucifer means morning light, right? It means light.
Yeah, morning star.
And I think sometimes we often think that angels look like, fat babies with wings, or they look like
Cupid.
humans with wings, but angels...
Oh, you saw my baby picture.
Yeah. You're still wearing that diaper, though, right? Yeah. But oftentimes, even biblically, angels are terrifying. There's a reason why most of the encounters start off with the angels in multiple voices, usually saying, do not be afraid.
Yeah, because everyone's afraid.
Yeah. So,
Be mindful of entertaining angels unaware.
yes.
And
be careful how you treat strangers. That's in
I've
Hebrews.
had that happen
Yeah.
to me. It's
Yeah.
it's one of the books I'm writing. It's called Angels and Aliens, and it was very profound. So,
Yeah. Well, so you grew up with these experiences. Did your parents ever share about their experiences, or did they ever talk about what they had gone through, or had they not experienced any of this and it started with you?
No, I think they did. I think they probably were pretty guarded about me. My dad had an amazing, if you want to call it beyond the back, we now will call it NDE, near-death experience. He died in the Misericordia Hospital for the first time in 1976 and was gone for over 10 minutes and came back and had an amazing account of heaven and how beautiful and loving and amazing and accepting it was, and was showing people up there that he totally forgot about, or some he didn't know but were like related to people he knew here on Earth. And all three of them were revealed to him within about 8 or 9 months after
Oh, wow.
he died. And so that was pretty profound. I remember my mom telling me one time, and please, like, this is in the 70s, so I mean, it's long before, any of these, self-driving cars or anything like that. But I remember they were coming back from my sister's house, and she used to live in Sherwood Park, and they said that they pulled up next to a vehicle, and it was stopped. It had passed them and then stopped at a stop sign. And when they pulled up beside it, there was nobody in it, and it continued to drive and go away. So, and that was in the 70s.
That's creepy.
And for my mom to be a little freaked out about something.
What astounds me about stories like that is they didn't have the internet, they didn't have Reddit or 4chan to piggyback off of other people's experiences.
Yeah.
So when you hear multiple people like that with similar experiences without any corroboration, you go, okay, this sounds more authentic than not.
They didn't even have National Enquirer back then.
That's just times have changed. Hey, yeah. And Derryn, you yourself have had a near-death experience too, correct?
I did in 2012. Mine wasn't as amazing as my father's. I don't really remember too much. I had a slip and fall in 2012. My brain swelled. They had to drill inside of my head to relieve the pressure. This was, about 10 days later or something like that. From that, I contracted bacterial meningitis. So they were giving me a lumbar puncture, which is a needle in the spinal cord, and to pull out your cerebral fluid to test for that. That's a barrel of monkeys. And I remember saying, oh, I'm going to throw up. And they were all rushing around, but nobody was bringing me a basin. And you don't want to be moving around convulsing when you got a needle in your spinal cord. I don't want to get, my spinal cord nicked or whatever. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I woke up and the nurse came in. He says, "Wow, you scared us." I said, you scared me. I thought I was going to yak all over you guys. and he just said, he goes, "No, we lost you. We had to bring you in resuscitation."
Whoa.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, then I just feel like I had an amazing experience, but for whatever reason, I'm not supposed to know it or remember it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't have the big story of going to heaven or
Yeah.
maybe I was what I call tethered to it,
Right.
wasn't my time kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and again, in Canada Day of last year, I was in a bad motor vehicle accident and I was very lucky to walk away from, like it was taken to the hospital, but to make that alive. And so I always joke and say, God's not taking any refunds on this guy. So, sorry, you're stuck with me.
As is.
I love how Derryn prefaces it with, "Oh, it wasn't that intense of an experience.
Yeah.
I almost died 6 times.
Yeah.
And I drilled a hole in my skull.
Right. Just me and cockroaches left one at the end of days, right?
And survive a nuclear meltdown. Hey, yeah. So you had some experiences in your time as a Air Force military policeman too, hey?
I did, and actually, the experience was actually prior to being in the Air Force because I started out in the Army Reserve for the military police, and then got out very briefly, and then the first Persian Gulf War started with the original George Bush, and then that I was on the January 15th, and I re-enlisted on the January 16th, and that's what I did. It went to Air Force. But yeah, we were out by Redwater, Alberta, and we were doing our basic training here. Of course, when you're in the reserves, you do it locally. You don't go to, used to be Cornwallis, but and we were out, our unit had to go do a patrol. So we had back then Canadian airborne guys out hiding, trying to attack us, and all those little scared militia guys with their fake bullets.
I'm sure they had fun with that.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't. My unit didn't know because we got sent out for the last patrol of the day, and away we went, and we got on our compasses went batty. Like they were all over the map, and this poor master corporal was trying to.
All of your compasses.
Everyone, are all. And we're out in the bush somewhere, and it got really dark. There was, there wasn't a bright moon or anything like that to see. And it got so bad that we were literally like walking through and twigs hitting us, and we couldn't see it. It was the dark, like I could not see my hand in front of my
new
face.
moon, pitch black, kind of.
Big time.
Yeah.
So we were out there, and then finally we found there was a little like clearing where there was a little bit of a like slough kind of thing, small lake or slough sort of thing. And the master corporal, told us stop, sit down for a rest, and because literally we hiked all night, and so we're taking a drink from our canteens and so forth. And what you do is, because you don't want water swishing around when you're in the bush, so you all drink from one until that's done, and then pass it on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No face mask back in those days.
Yeah.
and we were just over this.
Sorry, how'd you catch a cold? Oh, my special ops mission. In the
yeah, exactly. So, but we, and then the next thing we knew, there was, and I'm not talking a disc, I'm talking the mothership. This massive ship. It had to be probably 3-4 football fields. It was just massive. It was above us. And I remember one guy yelling, they're like, "Whoa." I think I was the first one to talk. And you're supposed to maintain bush silence and all this stuff. And I'm like, "Holy cow, look at that thing." "Shut up, Donaghey." I'm like, "I'm a master corporal." Like, we don't know where we are. I'm pretty sure the Reg Force doesn't know where we are, right?
Yeah.
We're all like this is above and beyond, playing silly bugger in the bush. And so
and everyone saw it?
Everyone saw it, and then there's one master corporal, or pardon me, this one guy on my course said, "Master Corporal, can we shoot at it?" I'm like, "It's capable of interstellar travel, and we got militia bullet, blanks. Even if there were live rounds, I wouldn't recommend it, right?"
Yeah.
And I remember, we watched for a bit, and then he was kind of like trying to brush it off. The master corporal was kind of thing, and it was just phenomenal. But as soon as we got up and we left. And I don't remember if it shot the stars or we just left. That part I don't remember, but I remember this was 1987, by the way. So as we were walking away, I remember that I was like trying to burn this into my memory. It was like I was almost forgetting it, and I was burning it into my memory, and it was kind of good because you didn't have to think. You just follow the person in front of you, and trying to just get this into my mind. And by the time we got back and found our base, at whatever it was, 7 a.m. or something crazy, and okay, now we're starting to load up and we can talk again. And I remember saying to him, "Gee, wasn't that crazy?" And they're like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Really?
Like that
They
UFO
forgot.
thing. Not everybody.
Okay.
All but 3 of us forgot.
Wow.
And the guy's like, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "You asked if you could shoot at it." And he's like, "What? No, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "Come on, how do you not know that?" Eh? And
Wow.
it's only because I felt like I don't feel we were on a ship of any kind. I don't know, but I feel like they did some sort of memory erase on us.
Weird.
Yeah. There's a device the SWAT uses. I think we've talked about on the show too. LRAD, the long range acoustic device, and it's used for dispersing crowds, and it causes high anxiety, it causes nausea, it causes panic. And so I think about human technology and how something like that can affect people from a distance. How much more could an advanced spaceship just transmitting some sort of sound that causes memory loss happen, or how it could exist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something, since then I've tried to reach out to some of them. I did get a hold of one of the ladies. It was a sergeant. Now, she wasn't on our patrol, but there's so few of these, guys, I can't remember their names and stuff. But anyways, I got a hold of her, and she goes, I wasn't on that patrol, as you know, but she goes, that weekend there were so many weird things that happened.
Oh,
She goes,
really?
I totally believe it. There is.
Do you remember like roughly what time of year it was or dates? Or?
This would okay. So I believe this. I know our course was 8702, so it would have been right around this time, I believe, in
Okay,
1987.
1987.
Yeah, so we would have. No, sorry, it started in 87, so it would have actually been 1988. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it would have been about the spring of 1988.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did find one of the other guys that remembered, and he can't remember now. So
Interesting.
there's only one out there that originally remembered,
Yeah.
and I don't know I couldn't remember who it was.
Oh, okay.
Because we had 80 on our course. We only graduated 17, and none of us were kicked out. That was how many people quit, and they re-looked at how they did it, because that was a huge loss of money for the military.
No kidding.
So,
Wow. Do you think it's related to that experience?
I don't
Or
think
no?
so, but I know when we got back to the staging area, the massacre was like, "You didn't see nothing, forget about it. You shut up about it."
Oh, really?
The usual
Yeah.
military
Just hush, hush,
cover up.
eh?
Yeah. So,
Well, it makes me wonder too, if, sure, maybe this ship or whatever, these beings, were able to erase memories. But what if it was, the military even? Like, what if this
Guinea pigging us? Yeah.
right? Like, what
Yeah.
if this master corporal guy, reported to his higher ups, and then, they started like slipping things in your food or something. Like, you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
random
Pretends
thought,
to take
but-
a swig, but actually, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I find it hard to believe there's not a lot of military encounters out there that just they never come to light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, you think of the technology they have, how much, especially nowadays, how much observation is like such a huge part of the military. It's like, you got satellites all over, you got thermal imagery, you got night vision, you got, whatever else. I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's probably things that I can't even, fathom that they have. But yeah, I find it hard to believe that there's not more experiences from the military, and there probably is, and they're just hidden, right?
Well, you have quite a few whistleblowers from the military. Some are plants, like your friend, what's his face?
From the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Spanish name, right?
Yeah. Just
Elizondo.
Elizondo, where he seems
Luis
like
Elizondo.
he's feeding a narrative. But
Once this kid, I'll tell you what. Once an intelligence officer, always an intelligence officer.
I look
It's
at
addicting.
like the former Defense Minister of Canada, Paul Hellier, like leading the charge on UFO disclosure, being like, these things are real. And he's not some random guy.
No.
And then France's intelligence minister, like a bunch of higher ups being like, by the way, we've seen this behind the scenes. And I think that's telling that a lot of this information is compartmentalized too. So like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
Right.
And that
By
there's-
design.
Yeah, there's groups within groups.
Right.
And I don't remember if it was Stephen Greer or somebody else in one of his documentaries talking about how even with the engineering of this type of technology, you've got a department that works on one piece and that's all they work on, and
Yeah.
they're not in communication with any
Right.
of the other departments.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that protects against information leaks that can
leaking.
be super
And you could trace back to it,
damaging, yeah.
right? It's like,
Right.
oh, these blueprints were leaked from this
Right.
piece, and this team has like 12 people on it.
Yeah.
So
But it's amazing how much Bob Lazar's information that he released.
yeah,
what,
Bob Lazar
decades ago has
yeah.
been coming to fruition.
Right.
Yeah, one of them was, decades ago, he talked about when they'd go into the facility, they'd have to put their fingers in and like slide it up type thing. And then there's been all these disclosures of former security measures they used in bases. And one of them was this finger type scanner that you'd use to slide your fingers up in. And yeah.
I went to Area 51 last year. Best day of my life.
Oh yeah.
I had such a good time. I was in Las Vegas for soccer for Canadian national team, and no one else wanted to go, of course. And I just rented a vehicle, my white panel van. No, not quite, but and I went out there, and it was just neat to see, and long. And it's funny, it's dirt roads. There's not one sign, nothing, no speed limit, no direction, no whatever, and just heading up to the hills and I think it's dirt on purpose so they can see it coming forever,
from
right?
a mile
Oh
off.
yeah.
And then there's a white pickup truck up top. You see it first. But it's neat. Even the little touristy trap places. Selling beef jerky and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love stuff like that. The niche, like paranormal stuff. Just that's awesome.
My friend Tom, that you both have met, of course. He was down in the States, and he went there and he rented a vehicle, and he was driving up to Area 51, and there was a big electronic sign. It said, "Hello, Tom."
Oh,
Right.
Really?
And I always thought when I was driving up, a lot of these cactuses on the side of the road, I'm sure, have got little cameras
Devices
in
in
them.
them, yeah.
So it's just enough to say, oh, they know who I am.
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeez.
Well, there was a video out the other day on Wired where it's like the world's most expensive, smallest drone, and it's like almost the size of a dragonfly, and it's like $200,000. Reminds me of that little creature in Dune, the movie in Dune.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's tiny and it's got like high def cameras in it and sensors and so cactuses or other things.
So imagine
cacti,
what they
I
have
guess.
that they aren't showing you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Bob Lazar and Paul Helly and stuff, Stephen Greer and CE5.
Right.
Can you explain what CE5 Alberta is and how it differs from other UFO research groups?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll give you the definition for CE5. So CE5 is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And we all probably, old people like me will remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind from the 80s, the movie there.
The valet scale.
Yeah. And but Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind means human-initiated contact with extraterrestrials. So Dr. Stephen Greer in 2020 came out with the movie Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, Contact Has Begun. And he's done other movies before that and since that. And very interesting. I knew of him prior to that. But when he came out and saying about the groups that are all over the world that do this and experience it, I was all aboard. So I started CE5 Alberta, and the first session we ever had was out. It was out by technically Tiger Lily, which is a tiny little town up by can I think of the name? Begins with a B. Westlock and Barhead, thank you. Ding, ding, ding. What have you won?
I travel a lot.
Up by Barhead, and one of our followers, Pam and Joe Golden, fantastic people. They had us out at their horse ranch there. And the very first time, we don't always get them, but we had night vision goggles, and so we're sitting in our circle, and so that we can, see 360. And one of our gals, MJ, fantastic lady. I jokingly call her MJ12, Majestic 12, but she's just, it's so funny because she just wants it so bad, and she's had some great experiences. And she goes, "Oh, there's one right behind you." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Right? and I didn't see the first one, but then we were getting what's called flash bulbs. And it's just where they light up for about 3 or 4 seconds just to let you know they're there, and they disappear. And, you'll hear people say, "Oh, it's a reflection off the sun." Well, if the world's round, it's on the other side of this of us right now, so there wouldn't be reflections, in my opinion. So, it was really interesting. And then the night vision, like you see, like 90% more than you could see, and there was things doing all kinds of dipsy doodles out there. It was unbelievable. So it really got us excited, and there was only 7 of us, the original group, and just amazing. And then we started going. The second one was still probably one of the most amazing ones, and that was out at South Seba Beach. And one of our gals, Z, has a cabin out there, and we were set up, and like these flash bulbs, I started seeing these flashes. But the first one I saw was on the ground, so I kind of like questioned. I'm like, was that like a reflection off a coyote's eye or something like that? And then we started seeing them in the trees, and I'm not kidding you. It looked like a Christmas tree. It was with white lights. Like all these trees are starting. And now Tom wasn't at that one, and he's our Mike. He's our I don't believe this.
Resident skeptic.
Yeah, resident skeptic. So he wasn't there, so I had to play that. And so I'm looking up what do what do you call them? Can't remember things today.
Fireflies.
Oh,
Thank you.
Fireflies.
What do they look like? Blah 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 blah. It's not generally humid enough in Alberta for them. But I was looking up all this stuff and totally looked different. And so it's funny because we were just talking about this earlier. We were trying to video it, and you can hear us all oohing and on in the pictures, or in the video, but you can't see me. Occasionally you see a little white, right? Because they're so small. And we moved out into the field more, and we invited them to come closer, and they did. And one gal, Verna, in our group, she goes, "There's one coming right from my head." And by the time I turned around, it had just passed her, and it went about 4 or 5 feet behind her. It was translucent, but it looked solid. It looked like hard, like a marble. But very wispy inside.
And so how big were they when they got close?
They were about the size of a toonie.
Okay.
And round, and they're all white except for 2 were kind of an orangey color.
Okay.
And this one flew about 4 or 5 feet past her head and disappeared. Thin air. And it was, what's funny about it is, like, what could this be? Are these extraterrestrial, multidimensional beings? Are they spirits? Are they angels? Are they friend or foe? Who knows? I felt amazing. I felt like just this feeling of euphoria that go through me. I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel, and that was one of the most. We've had several other things that we've seen since, but that was one of my favorites because, it's one thing seeing things in the sky, but a lot of it you can say, well, it could be new technology, reverse technology.
Right.
This you can't. I don't know how man could reproduce that the way we saw it.
Right.
Well, and even with cameras and stuff, we talked before about how you would know this as a military police officer, but you're in constant training for the muscle movement of withdrawing your gun, pointing it, turning off safety and ready, so that in an emergency situation where that's required, it kicks in. Whereas most people, when they encounter something, potentially from another dimension or another planet, their mind isn't in the mode of like, let me pull up my camera and take evidence of it. But even if they did, it reminds me of, there's some YouTubers who created some sunglasses where when cameras looked at the sunglasses, like CCTV cameras look at the glasses, they are glaring white. And if amateur people are doing this with materials off the shelf, how much more could technology beyond our civilization fool cameras being pointed at them or disappear or be disfigured? And so even then, I'm not sure if it's entirely capable of capturing it unless it's trying to be revealed.
Yeah, this was, of all the things we've seen, this is the one that is, there's a few others, but it's one of the most amazing ones that I can't think of. And we've heard about Project Blue Beam.
Blue Beam.
Blue Beam.
Blue Beam.
And I should have took that coffee you offered me earlier. But you know, and that we know that they can project images and that to look very real and so forth.
Yeah.
But you know, what would they be doing at South Seba Beach? That was only our second one. They didn't, you know, nobody knew about us back then, right? And but I have another funny story that I was on a radio doing an interview about, I don't know, a year and a half ago now, and we were talking about South Seba Beach. And one of the things with Dr. Greer's protocols is we do a meditation, and I don't do his because no disrespect, but it's very deep and it's all about, you know, to me we want to use ourselves as like almost like a satellite dish, you know, transmitter receiver, and put the way I do ours is, you know, just kind of connection with the light, and we mean no harm, please come, and we accept no harm, you know, only in love and light do we, you know, accept you, sort of thing, and do this thing where we ground ourselves from heaven to the earth.
Your guys is more of a prayer at the beginning of.
Mine is, but the mine's very unique. Like it's
Yeah.
A lot of people just play Dr. Greer's bit, but our group seemed to kind of like this better, and it seemed more focused on what we were trying to do, because you do coherent thought sequencing where you're trying to broadcast where you're out there.
Well, and I'll be honest, like, and I know, sorry, I'm interrupting your story, but just on that point, when I first learned of CE5, that was my concern. Was like, it seems like people are opening themselves up to be used, essentially, right?
Potentially,
or giving up control. So it's interesting for me to hear that you've kind of taken a more protected approach.
Yeah, very much so, because I don't know. It's funny. I don't even know what I believe when it comes to that thing, but I am an investigator by trade and by my heart. But I also, you know, believe, you know, I'm Christian, and I don't want anything bad to happen to any of us, and I don't accept anything from the darkness. And so maybe I put a little bit of my own, you know, take on that, but it's for, and I explained too, not all the people that come out are going to have the same belief system as me, but it's for the intent to protect us all.
Yeah, sure.
So, so another thing that he does is he has these tones that play that are kind of crazy, right? Okay. That supposedly he's worked out with the ETs that this helps bring them in. So anyways, we played those at that second CE5 one. And when I was on the radio doing the interview, I had said, you know, did talk to them for a few minutes and explained what we do and how we do it and everything. And then I went off the air, and one of the callers called in to it and said, "Hey, you know what's funny? I live out at South Seba Beach, and I heard the craziest noises outside. So I know what he was saying was true." And I'm like, "My dear lady, I'm so sorry. That was me with Dr. Greer sounds. That had nothing to do with extraterrestrials." I
heard them.
And she says, "Oh, I was letting my dog out, and I had to let him in. I was so scared." I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Sometimes it's better just to let people believe that, so they have the story, right? Yeah. They have the encounter.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's funny.
We've had our fun with it.
Yeah.
What are some of the most remarkable experiences or sightings reported by members of the CE5 Alberta community during one of your sessions?
Well, one was in May, so almost a year ago now, out at Amethyst Equine Connection. So that's out on Range Road 210 and just out east of Sherwood Park in South Cooking Lake. And there's actually two homes on the property. So the lady and the party that own the home were interested and let us come out there. They have a helicopter pad, not from their use, but from the previous owner. Yeah. So it's perfect for us because less mosquitoes. We go and set
up a fire pit.
It's fantastic. So we started using that, and we had an amazing experience where, so we had, I think, 27 people out that day. There was 4 of us that are regulars. There's 2 that have come to previous sessions, and the other, 21 of them were all brand new. And we started watching, and nothing much was happening. And, I said, "Come on, you guys, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Let's go." And we got her to actually turn on the landing lights, the red landing lights for the UFO pad. Sorry, look at me, Freudian slip.
Hey.
For the helicopter pad. And Jennifer did that. And soon after that, we looked to the eastern skies, and there was all kinds, I'll call them ships for lack of better use. I still say UFOs. I don't like UAPs because that's what, the governments have made to make it more acceptable to talk about that.
You used a descriptor there. What type of ships did you say?
I don't know per se.
You said Alcorn ships or?
No, I didn't say it.
Oh.
You're just making sense.
You're hearing things.
Yeah. So what type of ships, or how would you describe them, I guess?
Basically, like we couldn't see them close. It was some sort of metallic object that had small white lights on them.
Okay.
What was interesting is that people started counting out. And they were like, my eyes are getting old, right? And some of them, but everybody was calling out in unison. Some of them I didn't even see looking that way. And they're going, wow, 26, 27. And try to video it, and you just see this tiny little white light. But some of them stopped and came out. It was like they were coming out of a portal or something like that, right? And some of them came back to kind of check us out because you have to be extremely careful because it is illegal. But you never shine a laser at any kind of object, but around there just to let them know you're there and to show to the group sort of thing. And it got their attention, and a couple kind of came back and checked this out. And it ended up being, we counted 52 ships in a row that came out of it. And not in formation, not, just sporadic. It seemed to come out of, like, not that we could see one, but almost like a portal or a wormhole or some sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And it was unbelievable. And it was funny because some of these people, well, a lot of them, it was the very first CE5.
Right.
And they were euphoric. They were hugging each other. One lady was crying. Like it was, nobody was scared. It was just amazing. And what's funny enough, I don't think that was the most interesting thing that happened that night. What we saw later, so we have different names for things. There's flash bulbs, as I explained, bright lights that, just let us know they're there. And then there's streakers, which some people could think that they're, asteroids or meteorites or something like that, but they fall to Earth, right? They fall into the gravity. Streakers will go straight across the horizon, and they're usually so fast. If one was behind you, Mike, look, and by the time you turn around, it could be gone, right? So, but there was one and they're usually fairly high, and we've seen them bright orange, lime green. Oh, wow. Yeah, we saw we do a CE5 just about every year in Saskatchewan and Manitou Beach too. Janet from Another Planet is one of our followers there, great lady, and we saw some there. But anyways,
we're gonna have to tag all of these individuals.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm sure. Yeah, they're 50 minutes of fame. Right? MJ12 and Janet from Another Planet. Yeah, these are my friends. Yeah, but there was one that was a lot lower, and the best way I could describe it is kind of boomerang shape, but it had like little wings to it. It was like a red outline and then banana yellow in the middle. And it came from the way I was facing. So I was facing south where my chair was, and I called it out, and everybody but one saw it. And it came across, like, which would be going from the west to the east, and then turned towards us. So it's facing north, and then just disappeared in midair. And that almost like...
That's weird.
The 52 ships, or 52 of anything that have a light on them in the sky, regardless.
It's spectacular.
I don't like, that's probably more than half of the F-18s that we have left. Yeah. So for 52 of anything, it is amazing. But this thing, because of its light, it made no sound. It was definitely checking out. And what was really interesting about that is 2 weeks later, I was at a bit of a spiritual retreat in High River, Alberta, down south of Calgary. And we had kind of a fireplace going, and it was a beautiful night. And I just wanted to go watch the stars. And so I moved away from the group and put my launcher out there. And I saw it again 2 weeks later. So that was very interesting to me. Those are a couple of them. We did see one of the places we go is Canmore. And
before you move on,
sure.
This other place, is it known for its encounters, or was it this particular time because you guys were there and had done the
At
The
Amethyst?
Greer protocols, yeah.
But Jennifer, who owns Amethyst Equine Connections there, she has always said there's been activity out there, and she gets amazing northern lights. And anybody that knows my Facebook, I've been able to get amazing C5 pics, but
Northern Lights pics, yeah.
Well, that's Dark Sky Reserve out there.
Yeah, it's just north. It's
east
just
of the city, right?
Yeah, at what do you call it? Elk Island there? Yeah. And the nice thing, we used to do them at Elk Island, but this is better because there's less light pollution. Even though it's basically directly north of me, I don't know why or what, but there's a lot less light pollution where I am. So it's really nice for that. But so it has been pretty, by the owners there. And it's right on Hastings Lake, her property backs on. And then I loved it so much, I said, if that second house ever comes to rent, let me know. So I actually live on the property now.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So any night you want, you can go out and start days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Interstellar Highway right there.
Interrupted your story. You're going on to another sighting.
Canmore. So we do quite a few at Canmore. And Canmore is pretty interesting because there's believed to be an energy vortex there in the mountains.
Oh, right. Yes.
So we always have great, we have a great guide.
For our listeners, what's an energy vortex? Sorry.
I wish I knew. I know there's a big one in Sedona. It's basically unexplainable energy spikes that we don't really know what it is. I know when you talk about Skinwalker Ranch, they'll claim that there's one over there too.
Right.
And
or even ley lines have some association with them too.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And places like Buffalo Lake,
Right.
And so I know in Sedona, I haven't been to Sedona yet, sadly. I want to go this year, but they have a tour there. It's called the the Vortex UFO Tour, and they say they'll guarantee you're going to see a UFO when you go.
Wow.
So I don't know if they're refueling their ships from this, or it's,
Send them in.
Canmore Energy Vortex.
Yeah, and so one of the things we do, we always see interesting stuff. One time I got flashbulbed, and I again, not at the object, but it flashed, and I flashed back with I have like military grade laser pointers. These things can like bounce off mountains miles away.
Yeah.
And I did back to it, and then it went toot twice, and then I went twice, and it was basically communicating to me, and I wish I knew Morse code. I
was going to say, was it like Morse code?
Yeah. No, I'm not Navy. I was Army and Air Force, so I missed out on that one. So. But that was really cool, and we've seen streakers there, tons of flashbulbs. Yuki, one of our followers, is from Calgary, and she came and she said when I was doing my kind of invitation protection prayer over us prior to starting, that there was some sort of being behind me, and she kind of got some interesting picture of it, sort of thing, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And then, but I think the neatest thing we saw there was, I was so where it is it's actually in Dead Man's Flats. There's a place called Banff Gates Resort Hotel. Yeah.
Banff Gates.
And when you drive up that little road from Dead Man's Flats, there's kind of a little parking lot where you can go and hike on trails. You go to the left is the hotel, and then there's kind of a little open field just below the parking lot, so it's a little bit lower elevation.
Yeah,
we go there, and we have some great folks, Al there, and who lives in Dead Man's Flats, and he brings out proximity alarms and stuff in case there's anything in the bush around us, and and all this kind of stuff. And so we have some great experiences there. Well, we had a bunch of new people from Calgary because the CE5 Calgary community, we work with them. Celia Hatch is a great lady down there that kind of oversees that. And so some of them were down by me where we were doing in the viewing, and some are up a little higher elevation. Well, the parking lot, I think they were using. It was nice because there are outhouses there, so I think they're up there using that. And I kind of could see a glow coming from which would have been towards Calgary direction, so to the east of where we were, but I couldn't quite see it all. And then I circled it with the laser, and then I didn't see anything, but I could hear the other guys go, oh wow, holy cow, right? And apparently what they saw is when I did that, there was a giant massive orange orb. And it was there, and that's the glow I saw. And then when I did that, he got spooked and just took off to the stars.
Wow.
And so...
But yet you couldn't see it.
I couldn't see that part, but I saw the glow kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's what did it. And then they didn't have the laser, so It's kind of two parts of
Yeah.
something we saw, right?
Wow.
So off air, we were talking about some potential explanations for what these things are. In your opinion, what are UFOs? What categories do they fall under?
Oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the. You know what? I have to say, I'm very open to any possibility. The reason I'm so interested in it and investigating it and becoming a ufologist and stuff is because I don't know. If I had all the answers, I don't know if I'd be as interested.
Curiosity.
Yeah, so is there, I look at every kind of possibility. So is there stars and other, if we go by what we're told by NASA, by the way, which means to deceive, Hebrew.
Interesting.
So, but, is there other planets? If there is what they say, it sure, I'm sure we're not the only ones in the universe. If you go by even what the flat earthers say, is it flat, or are we just being lied to? But that to me doesn't discredit the potential of UFOs or UAPs, because if we're just going by the ice wall, okay, well, there could be endless amount of civilizations and different technology that are beyond that. So that doesn't, just if somebody was a flat earther, it doesn't discredit necessarily an unidentified flying object, right? So that could be, and then I go back to what my dad said way back, which I didn't believe and kind of thought was funny of him saying demons. And we know they're masters of deception. As a paranormal investigator, and I know you gentlemen, that's a lot of your world too, and we're all trained investigators and so forth. And it's hard to deny, from the things that I've done in various things, from ghosts to demons to, well, of course, the extraterrestrial stuff and multidimensional beings. It really opens it up to any possibility. So I can't say I have a closed mind about any of it. I think I'm open, and it's funny when people talk as things are gospel precise. Oh, they're Arturians or this, really.
They have like a name and everything.
Oh, yeah. That's Bill.
It's Nazis from the past.
Yeah.
Is it Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, and even Dr. Greer says, he's got names for them and things, and says that, this is Bayou is one of his. Yeah. He says, and who knows? I don't know. It's hard to, and some people, will send me video. There was actually one that was just posted on our CE5 Alberta. So if you're looking on Facebook, it's CE-5 Alberta is the Facebook page. And it's, one of the gals just, posted her son was driving and saw something in the video. It was a very bright light in the sky. And then I think he got out and he was just about to restart it. And he said it just, like the orb did, just head for the skies, right? So he missed it. So, but it looks very cool. We're hoping to do another C5 out by Athabasca. We did one at Baptiste Lake, which is just next to Athabasca.
Oh, okay,
so, that's up on the list as territory.
Dark skies
yeah. So, it's been amazing. It's never a dull moment. It's always a good experience. It's just neat. You don't get any, forgive the terminology, tinfoil hat crazies. Oh, it's just most of the gang that come out are
minus yourself, right?
Well, present company excluded, of course, but no, most of them are just good average people that have an interest in it, and we have great conversations and share snack food and sit back and enjoy the stars and have great convo, and it's a lot of fun. And there's I joke because two of our regulars actually work for the federal government, and I always say they're there just to make sure we don't find out too much.
Just monitoring.
Yeah,
we should do a Midnight Mysteries episode of one of these.
Absolutely. We've talked about before. Mike and I were supposed to host C5 at Seba Beach.
I know.
Got rained
weather,
out. So, yeah,
it'd be great. The one thing that I think that, moving forward, and you guys obviously are much better with tech than I am, and Tom's good with it too and things like that. But to me, the next step for us because if I had everything on video of what we saw, it would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I get little bits of it and stuff, but it's definitely not anything defining.
Right.
And, because I'm out there with my iPhone 13 and it's not, and some people will say, I'll bring a telescope. Telescopes are pretty much useless because you're dealing with something that's either moving very, very fast and, telescopes don't respond. It's neat for looking at planets and stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even during the eclipse, I had my little amateur.
That was a good picture.
Yeah, amateur telescope. And I kept having to adjust it because the sun was moving.
Yeah.
And it's just, you don't realize how fast stuff is moving until you're zoomed in on it. Yeah.
Well, great. Thanks for coming, Derryn, and for sharing your stories with us. You already mentioned the CE5 group. Is there any other ways people can contact you?
I have some pictures I on TikTok. So I am a spiritual coach. So if you're looking at TikTok, it's at spiritual coach Derryn, and Derryn is Derryn, like Londonderry, dairy with an N on the end. And I do have some of our both paranormal investigation things and CE5 videos, and actually some of mine I just realized were from Area 51. Some of my pictures are there, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, feel free. And then Derryn Donaghey, spiritual coach on Facebook. So
okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Derryn. Tonight we talked about CE5, we talked about UFOs, we talked about strange lights in the sky. Did you or someone you know have an encounter with a UFO or orb in the sky? We'd love to connect with you. Remember, we've also talked about UFOs before on our episode of UFOs, UAP, and government secrecy. Thanks for joining us. Remember, stay weird, and we'll see you next time on Midnight Mysteries. Have a great night.